massive faces on the screen. Yeah, dude, we were doing some sort of like WeWork type of Twitter deal, and it was before. Yeah, it was like in 2013. I don't even know when or 2014. I don't even know when WeWork was founded. 2010.
You have not shaved in 10 years?
Correct. I've like trimmed it, but I haven't like razored to the,
Damn, that's crazy.
It's pretty wild, dude. When's the last time that you shaved down to the bone?
2 weeks ago, dude. I'd normally clean shave because I can't grow it. I can't get it done. Hold on, I'm outing you to
outing me. What do you mean outing me? Doxing me, dude? Someone said dox the other day, and I had no idea what that meant.
I feel like that's a new Gen Z. Well, I know what it means because it's like you're outing somebody who's an online personality, revealing where they live and who they really are. Maybe.
Oh, so it's very specific outing.
I think so.
Doxing. That's crazy that you know. You're like, oh, I don't know what that's a Gen Z thing, but then you know every little detail and Webster definition of it.
Well, it's okay. Let's see. It's publishing private or identifying information about a person, but it's now more recently been used for like streamers or you, like I just did now.
What? What do you mean you just?
Oh, now you're in trouble with Kelly.
Wait, why am I in trouble with Kelly? Wait a minute. Wow, so the hate was me? This is what you did? I like how there was no follow-up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. Welcome to the Sweet and Condensed Podcast, a podcast by people who love movies, people, and the magic that lives where they meet.
Okay, well, I'm excited about this episode. This episode of the Sweet and Condensed Podcast is called Shoot the Shit with JP and EH. So are we ready to... We're already in trouble with Kelly, one of the other executive producers of Sweet and Condensed, and with Drew, because you haven't submitted yet, have you?
Oh, I submitted. Yeah. I submitted like my favorite watch.
Did you?
Oh yeah, I submitted like in the middle of all the drama last night. I snuck in there and just put submitted real quietly.
So for those listening, we're going to once again plug our newsletter, Sweet and Condensed. We get weekly reminders from one of the producers like, hey, slackers, submit. And it's a little bit aggressive. It's a little bit hateful. If we had an HR department, we'd probably report him. But I was submitting last night, and one of the other producers called me a teacher's pet. Kelly literally called me a teacher's pet. I was like, well, so what do you mean?
Well, we got that text like super late. It was like at 9 p.m. or something. We normally get it at like 8 a.m. And so it was like, hey, so sorry, this is coming out late. And then like within 1 minute, Eric was submitted. So I see where Kelly's coming from, but I don't approve.
Is this Sarah Erasure? Because she literally submitted before I did.
Oh, she also did. Sarah Erasure.
I'm clipping that one. I don't edit these, but I'm clipping that one.
There we go.
And sending it to Sarah.
Are you going to send it to her through DMs on her non-socials?
Oh, see, we can't dox her. This is a perfect example of I'm looking. Oh. This is toxic, dude. I'm looking at you in person.
This is toxic, he says. Yeah. No, dude, that's funny. I guess you could send it to the group message. But yeah, you can't. Sarah's not out there, dude. She's off the grid. Off the grid.
Supposedly.
She's got a burner, I think. She's lurking out there. But yeah, no, on this episode, yes, sign up for the newsletters. But the best way to support our show right now is to subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Google. No, they shut down Google Podcasts, I'm pretty sure. But nonetheless, we do want to shout out Tony Boney Baloney. We got an Apple review that I like to read to the people.
W's in the chat.
And to Eric. So this podcast flows well and gives permission to just enjoy watching movies again without overanalyzing every single nuance. If you like something, you can just like it. This podcast is fun, thoughtful, and not forced. I also enjoy how they move between new releases to older movies. That's just so nice.
I love his comment that was like, if you like something, you can just like it. It reminds me of this because I think sometimes in movie discourse, like, people joke like Eric's pretentious or Josh is pretentious, with our movie takes. And sometimes it feels like there are movie podcasts or things that maybe are, but I like this meme. It's a guy shushing someone else and it says, shh, let people enjoy things. And I love that because you can sometimes get too deep in the analyzing of movies and
right.
Sometimes and I'm glad that we make people feel that way, because I don't think any of us are snobs, but I know sometimes we get in the weeds of movies. So I'm glad people can hear that, but also think like, if you don't like it, it's cool. If you like it, great, and we just talk shit regardless.
Right. No, I agree, dude. And I mean, it is nice to hear, especially because there's that when we have those conversations within the crew about bad movies, good times, where some movies they're just then that's not saying that the movies are necessarily like horrible movies. What we're saying is that movies like what you like, movies are like fun, they're entertaining, they don't have to be profound or they don't have to be critically acclaimed in order to have a good time. And there's just times where it's like, yeah, just like you don't have to be embarrassed to like what you like. And I think that I don't know. I know there's some times where I agree where Eric said that sometimes people could be like, oh, Josh is pretentious or has these takes. And I think I can get in the weeds of the snobbery world, but at the same time, I enjoyed rewatching Twilight with you and Kelly and talking about it, even though I don't know. Some people might say those aren't good movies, but that's fine. Like that's okay because I enjoy watching them regardless, and it was a good time rewatching them and chatting with you guys.
Looking at your top 4 movies,
Oh gosh,
I don't think I'd call you on Letterboxd. I don't think I'd call you pretentious, and definitely not me. Like,
wait, what are your top 4? What are my top 4? I don't even...
Your top 4 are Everything Everywhere All at Once, Saltburn, little pretentious, Pulp Fiction, and Sound of Metal.
No, I should not have asked that question. I should have had time to switch. No, I'm just kidding. Those are some pretty wild. They feel a little film bro-y.
Yours evolved though.
I changed
right? Like,
mine a lot. Yeah. I mean, let's see. I want to go find yours now because I'm scared. I don't even know how to navigate on the computer desktop of this. Oh, there you are. All right. And Eric's is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, never seen. New Nightmare, never seen. The Shining, never seen. And The Dark Knight. That one's a good one.
It's not pretentious at all.
Not pretentious at all. Actually,
double Jack Nicholson though.
I want to wait. Oh, okay. The Shining. Is The Shining, dude, you have 2 horror films? I guess that's on brand.
On brand.
Dude, I don't think a lot of people talk about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Whenever I think about that movie, it's you. And I think I need to check it out to figure out what all the Eric fuss is about.
Well, I quoted him in my Instagram post last night, the character McMurphy. And then I was like, man, he's like actually a bad person and committed a really heinous crime. Do I need to put a disclaimer that like me quoting him doesn't mean I like condone? But then I'm like, no, it's okay. People obviously know that I'm not a psychopath.
Yes.
But anyways, maybe those will change. They might.
Maybe.
I wish you could do more than 4. I don't know. But sorry, we went on a tangent. Shout out Tony Baloney, man. Look at you starting great conversation.
Just adding to the discourse, as the people say. But yeah, seriously, thank you. Thank you so much. And also, people have been writing in, not quite, the same as public reviews, but the streets have been speaking, poo poo kaka pee pee on Twitter, on socials. We've been hearing from him saying that, he's brought up 2 things. One, he's like, I need more action. I need more violence. I feel like, Eric, what do you think about this? Do we have, I'm biased, obviously. I feel like we've been talking a lot of horror lately, especially not just on the podcast, I guess, but also on the newsletter. And there's just it's been a year for horror, suspense, thriller movies. He had mentioned that he would like to see more action. Things like John Wick, Monkey Man, and RRR. Monkey Man did come out this year. We did do a newsletter on it, but I don't think we've talked about much of that. Do you feel like we're missing some stuff here? Missing some genres?
100%. And here's why I say that. When we started this podcast, before we made this the switch and the rebrand, aka the investors were upset with us and threatened to fire us. We were doing full movies. And sometimes I do believe there are a lot of action movies that can be full movies, but I don't think we were headed down that path. We did a lot of horror. We did a lot of other just full movies, maybe a lot of dramas. And this summer too, I was just looking at my Letterboxd on just my activity. And so Deadpool and Wolverine came out. But as far as rewatches or what's on streaming, I don't have a whole lot of action.
That's right.
It's a lot of horror, dramas, full movie, and then you have like Fast Times at Ridgemont High. So I don't know. My activity in the last 3 months has not been a lot of action. So I do think we're missing that. And I would love to just sit and chat about that. Maybe we can watch 1 or 2 or just have a whole episode about action. And shout out Poo Poo Kaka Pee Pee. Speaking of doxing, I might dox this man by the end of the
dox this dude. That's so funny. Yeah, dude. I mean, and he brings up some good movie. I think there's some good movies even in the world of full watches. Think, laugh, cry. I don't know, Eric. I don't think you've seen RRR yet, but that could easily be an episode one because it's 3 hours long. And bear with it because it is worth it. I know it sounds like an insane thing to have a 3+ hour movie, but it really crams in like several genres into one movie, and it is so much fun. It is a blast. And one of the guys looks almost identical to Eric, and that is one of the funniest parts of this whole thing. But no, seriously, it's one of those movies that has so many different genres, and it tugs in so many different emotions, including you just feel it's a feel good, and it also rips your heart out in a small way in the midst of like action. Like the dude, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, there's like tigers and shit, like wild animals, and him fighting them and capturing them. And so it's a wild action movie. But anyways,
Wait, and
yeah, go ahead.
speaking of action adventure too, we messed up, everybody, and we're so sorry. A listener pointed it out to us. Well, there's a couple of things that listeners have pointed out, but last episode, Josh and I just shot the shit. We were talking about what's new to streaming in August. We blew it, and we didn't include Furiosa, and we're so sorry about that. Speaking of action adventure, full movies, in my opinion, that are action adventure. I rewatched that this week with Kelly. Wait a minute. When is this coming out? Anyways, Kelly and I watched that. Kelly's not typically big on action adventure, and she loved Mad Max Fury Road and then got her into Furiosa, and that was her favorite watch. So if you subscribe to the newsletter or follow us on socials, you're going to see that was her favorite watch. It's that good of a movie. So we apologize for missing that one. If you didn't get a chance to see that in theaters, I would have 110% checked that out. Speaking of action adventure, since we're headed down that genre.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the embarrassing things for me was like it was one of my favorite watches of the year. Like I have it on my Letterboxd 2024 watches released ranked. It is currently number 4 on my list of the 27
Ooh.
movies. I need to update it. There's probably like 33 at this point. But Furiosa was up there, and I just can't believe I missed that because one, it has one of my favorite performances from Chris Hemsworth I've probably ever seen, and mostly because I didn't expect it. Like I was expecting, I've seen him mostly in Marvel and Thor and all that stuff, and he really did embody this like psychotic character, but was able to give this a performance that like also yes, he's like seems like this insane person, but there's also this level of like survival and what it means to be human type of aspect to him. And Anya Taylor-Joy crushes. And then even that new guy, the guy that kind of looks like I forget his name, Praetorian Jack, I think the character, but I forget his name. They were spectacular in it. It was just so much fun. And I don't know, have you rewatched the Mad Max recently?
Yeah, we just Fury Road about a month ago. I think we watched Fury Road, and watching Furiosa last night is whenever this episode comes out. Last night is when we finished Furiosa, and I was thinking about what you were talking about, Chris Hemsworth, the scene. Spoiler alert! Sorry.
Hey, go watch this movie, and then let me just ruin the whole thing. No, I'm just kidding.
Run it back. There's a tense scene where Furiosa and Jack are taken captive by Dementis and his crew. And I loved that moment when he was like, "You're making me the dark Dementis. Like, you break my heart and we can't be soft." He has this little spiel in front of his guys like, "We're surviving. We can't be soft." And I know it, like, maybe you can interpret it one of two ways, but I loved it. It was like, maybe there's this like softer side to him that we didn't really get to see, or I don't know, you do a little bit when it was baby Furiosa and he's calling her baby Dementis or the baby D or whatever. And I don't know. He was a great character. You were absolutely right. So ignore what I just said. Watch the movie to find out.
Yes. No, I agree. It is a dynamic movie, and I know there was a lot of comparison because that's just what we do as people. I think is compare sequels or when movies are super far apart or prequels.
Yep.
And Mad Max Fury Road, I haven't rewatched it probably since it came out, but I remember it feeling like a perfect movie. This one might not feel like a perfect movie, but then again, this is one of those things like that meme you showed. I'm like, just go have fun, go enjoy it. And it was also really fun to see because this movie Furiosa came out this year and Anyone But You came out this year. I know it's a weird
Mm.
connection here, but there's a woman that was in Anyone But You and an Australian woman. And then I see her again in Furiosa. And I was like, oh my gosh, this woman's blowing up. It's literally the only like 2 credits she has, and it's incredible. Like it's just amazing that this I think she's a model in Australia, but I should probably look up her name to give her.
Oh, Charlie Fraser. She's
Yeah.
Furiosa's mom in the movie.
Yes. Yeah. And I think she was
Wow.
unreal. It was that opening sequence. I was a big fan of the beginning. But anyways, my point is saying that yes, it watches differently than Mad Max Fury Road, but I don't know, it was fun. It was enjoyed. Like just I think it's one of those movies where action movies where you just have a good time, like Deadpool and Wolverine you'd mentioned earlier, where a lot of the internet was just talking about how it was too like I don't know gimmicky or like the action was corny and it was dull and like all this other stuff. But I'm like, I don't know. As someone who grew up like watching a lot of the movies that they have callbacks to and all these cameos, like it was just fun. Like it was like a nostalgic feeling watching a modern movie while laughing and being this movie being ridiculous because it is Deadpool at the end of the day. Like it's gonna be ridiculous like shit, like breaking the fourth wall, calling out real world stuff, like talking about Hugh and Ryan as if they're Hugh and Ryan, even though they're playing like characters, making jokes about Disney. And anyways, my point is that similarly, I'm like, just have fun for it. And if it's not your movie, that's fine. Like that's okay. But I don't know. For me and like myself, I was Furiosa is just a blast.
Oh, you know what? What you mentioned too about just enjoying it. I think the other thing that bums me out is like because I have tried to reel it in a lot when I go with a group to a movie, or even if Kelly and I go to a movie, and like there are people who enjoy that movie, and I maybe have thoughts after. I'm like, this is the place where I'll share them.
Mm,
Not, I don't want to like, and I'm not going to lie to people and be like, I loved it if I hated it.
right.
But also, I'm not going to like. There's no point. What is the point in you're going with a group of people to just like tear it down in front of everyone? Like, oh, that sucked because of X, Y, Z, and other people liked it. It's like that's not the time or place. Too. I don't know. It's just like sometimes too. You just watch it for what it is. Maybe you overanalyze and like afterwards think about it, and you didn't like this or that. That's like with Romulus. I loved it. You know, there's a part now that I wish they didn't include, but afterwards, when we all had seen it, it was really fun. We chatted a little bit, and like this is a place where we can have banter about where it ranks and different things. But I love when I share a movie or a show with family or friends and they enjoyed it too. And I get really offended if they don't. So I'm also pretty dramatic about
Right.
movies. So I'm like, I don't ever want someone to come out of a movie loving it and then I immediately just tear it down. If I
Right.
have something, I remember, what did I go see? I think it was The Beekeeper
Okay.
with Jason
Yeah.
Statham, and I wasn't like a super fan of it, but like the couple of the guys I went with loved it, and I'm like, I told Kelly when I got home I wasn't a super fan, but I'm like in the car, I'm not gonna be like, well, Jason Statham is typecast, and he's like, what does that do? You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think it's just time and place, but I get super offended if people don't like my movies. So maybe I think everybody's gonna feel that way
Right.
if I didn't like their movie, which is not true.
Yeah,
But
what was we were talking about this not the other day about because The Beekeeper is one of those movies that's like, hey, I get a phone call, I'm coming out of retirement, and you know that whole storyline. Uh, we were talking about something recently where I was like, oh, this gives a run for its money of like calling out of retirement. I don't remember what it was though. Do you remember I texted you this?
you did.
But
Did you letterbox it? Now I'm super curious what that was.
I might have, but I think that as like you're saying, like it might not be for everyone, but I think those movies, even if it's overused, can be so much fun.
World War Z.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right, that's right. That's like a fun like call out of retirement movie. That one I did really really enjoy. I didn't watch The Beekeeper, but my point is that I feel like that plot it's pretty fun. Like as overused as it is, it's always a good time to like see someone be like, I'm gonna come out of retirement and show my skills. Taken might be the goat of that. I could be wrong.
Yeah, 100%.
Um,
Wait, speaking of what we've watched recently,
yeah.
you said you started a show on Netflix recently because a listener recommended it. What was that? The
yeah.
Gentleman?
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of people that have been telling me about The Gentleman, including one of the roommates. Shout out Brenna. So sorry that it took me so long, but a few listeners have been saying, watch this. And I think and I mentioned this before, I think, where it does take a while for someone to say, hey, Josh, you should watch the show specifically, several times before I finally dive in. I mean, the show came out in I want to say,
wasn't it this year, or am I crazy?
no, actually, oh yeah, it was this year. You're right. So it is fairly new. I'm wrong. But because it's a spinoff from the movie The Gentleman by the same person, Guy Ritchie, writer director of The Gentleman, that came out in 2020. And so the show is so much fun. It's very reminiscent, I think, of old Guy Ritchie. If you're familiar with Snatch, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, very, very British, very like in Snatch, if you've seen it, there's a character called Freddy Four Fingers because he had lost a finger because of gambling, and it's very characterized. One guy's name's Bacon. Like there's just this odd character. Like it feels like you're watching a movie, and the show does very similar. Like there's characters with specific names that they come up with nicknames that play into how they go about their business, whether it be selling drugs, killing people, being mobsters, being gangsters, all that stuff. But stars Theo James, again, written, directed by Guy Ritchie. He got nominated for directing an Emmy for directing the first episode. It hooked me. Like within the first 20 minutes, the storyline got me in, and every episode, I'm on like halfway through now, and every episode has like escalated. And but everyone's doing a good job. Kea Scodelario, Daniel Ings, Jolie Richardson. Oh, and then Vinnie Jones. Vinnie Jones is old school, iconic. Like he was the dude in Snatch and Lock, Stock, and Euro Trip. The former
Gone in 60 Seconds.
Oh, that's right. Gone in 60 Seconds, dude. Talked about action and a full what? No, I don't know. It pulls some heartstrings. Dude, Gone in 60 Seconds. Nick Cage, dude. That one we should rewatch. But he's like a former footballer, like as in football, like Europe football or the world football, I should say, not American football. Yeah, he's just great. He's a great on screen. So, anyways, because you have not seen the Gentleman, correct?
I haven't. Maybe I need to start. We talked about this recently. There's a handful of shows where I'm like, I should just start it. I should just jump in, like House of Dragon, Game of Thrones, and then I just get sucked into the slop of shows like The Industry.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because that's what you're currently watching. How's that one?
Yeah, it's so weird. Sometimes I'm like this with shows where if I'm watching a lot of different movies, whether like heavily into horror or heavily into full watches or dramas or movies that really engage me, I might have like a show on the side that's just like slop. And I'm not disrespecting the shows in that way, but like Suits, I was like binging those seasons for a little bit just because it's like the side doesn't, just like this kind of fun thing to watch. And that's how I am with the Industry right now.
Okay.
I need to start House of Dragon. I need to start Game of Thrones. And it sounds like Gentleman too. Well, wasn't there another one too? A new Watchmen series that Pupu Kakapipi told us about?
That's right. And I literally did not know or have it on my radar. But maybe because too, dude, I wanted to love the 2009 Watchmen movie so bad. And I don't think I do at all. Like I'm trying to, like, the characters were great, and I think they hit on some of the aspects that I wanted to see, but I just remember not really enjoying it, or it not being very I don't know.
I remember I loved the trailer. I rewatched this is so weird, but I vividly remember, oh man, I need to know now. Trailers. There was a song in it. It was Smashing Pumpkins. Let's see.
Smashing Pumpkins.
The beginning is the end is the beginning is the name of the song. And I remember, let me make sure that's the right one, but I remember watching that trailer in theaters, and then I just continued to just Google it and try to rewatch it. And then for years after, anytime, that's really weird. Oh my God, I need to rewatch that movie now. I remember, I loved it. I loved that song in the trailer. Wow, that's crazy.
Did you enjoy the movie?
No.
Maybe we should rewatch it. Maybe it's aged and maybe we'll enjoy it. Because it came out in 2009. 18, 17 when it came
Damn,
out.
you're old, dude. What?
Excuse me? Says the wait, Eric, didn't you just have a birthday? How old are you now?
Oh, dude, my Wi-Fi's cutting out.
Oh. Of course it is. So yes, Watchmen came out in 2009. Then there was a mini series that has good ratings that came out in 2019 starring Regina King. Shout out Regina King. And then that was a limited series on HBO. But yeah, apparently Watchmen Chapter 1, directed by Brandon Vietti, David Gibbons, who's attached to the original movie. And let me check real quick about the TV series if David Gibbons was a part of that production as well. So David Gibbons doesn't look like he was a part of the miniseries, but the Watchmen Chapter 1, is this really? Oh no, wait, this is an hour and 23 minutes long. Is this a movie? This looks like a movie, dude. Maybe am I looking at the wrong thing? Is there like another series somewhere?
No, this is it's a 2-part.
Oh, interesting.
Watchmen 1 and Watchmen 2. Oh, it's a film. It's a movie.
It is a movie. Okay.
DC Studios announced it last year at Comic-Con, part 1 and part 2. So part 1's out. Well, you got to rent that sucker for $19.99.
What is it on?
Apple TV Prime, but it got good ratings. Oh, it's animated.
Oh, okay.
See, we're learning so much. Sorry, Poo Poo Kaka Pee Pee. We didn't do research before. We just had a note to talk. But yeah, it's an animated. Rent to Amazon, Fandango at Home, or Apple TV.
Yeah, August 13th it released, and then it's on 4K Ultra HD and Blu-ray on August 27th. That's okay. Well, as soon as it's available on streaming, hopefully we'll remember this time to let people know where to stream it from. But I'm interested. I'm intrigued. Poo Poo Kaka Pee Pee, please write in. Or anybody, please write in. Also, if you're listening to this on Spotify, you can leave comments now, which is kind of fun. But let us know if you enjoy Watchmen, if we're missing something, why we didn't enjoy it. And if it's worth checking out again.
Let's see. Guys, I just got a text that said my Toyota RAV4 is now worth $100,000. To click the link to earn more.
Sell it.
Should I do it? $100,000 for my RAV.
Sell it.
Dude, these
Don't
spammers.
even think about it, dude.
These spammers.
We're looking for new investors, dude. So, would you like to invest your RAV4 money? All right. So we got the Watchmen. We that's new and coming in. Eric, I know you've mentioned this to me about you're excited for spooky season, but I feel like it's been spooky season like this whole damn summer. So why are you excited for more spooky season? Is there anything that's literally like on the horizon here that you're excited for? Or is this just something you're just like always stoked about?
Okay, first of all, always stoked about, but I feel like this week is Blink Twice, Beetlejuice is in September, and then all of our you don't have a break, dude.
No.
I mean Beetlejuice. Okay, I think you're not gonna get scared, Josh. It's great. It's PG-13. Okay. But sorry, Beetlejuice is
okay.
I can't just say Beetlejuice. I don't think you have much of a break because there's a handful in October.
Let me look. Yeah, no, I'm looking at the sweet and condensed content calendar here, and it goes Blink Twice, Slingshot or The Crow is this week, Afraid next week. I think Afraid is that AI movie, right?
Yep. Speak No Evil, which I've seen that trailer one too many times. I'll still watch it. And then The Substance, was I've heard is great. And then we've got Smile.
Wait, hang on. Before you continue after the Smile, The Substance?
Dude, have you not seen the trailer for that?
I don't. Is that the one where the woman looks like she's stapled on her spine, like if she's pieced together? Dude, I don't. I already don't like horror. Which, okay, I have a confession here. Not that I think it's getting tired. The whole Josh doesn't like horror thing because I keep watching it. Yes, partially it is because of the newsletter and the sweet and condensed, project we got going on here. Some of them are enjoyable. I can't deny that to Eric anymore. But body horror, dude, like there are images that are still just imprinted on my brain from Hostel, like the blowtorch. Sorry if that is triggering any memories into people's minds, but dude, Substance made me think about that. And I would say it felt like polarized reviews. Like everything I read online was either they super loved it or they were like, not at all.
So there's that.
You're such a punk. Oh,
Wait, listen. When is the substance coming out? Because you definitely have to go. Oh, September 20th. So you don't have a break. Then I'm sure you've seen the trailer for September 27th. I don't know how to say it. Azrael? It's a new horror movie with Samara Weaving,
no.
which she is in Ready or Not and Scream. Like, she's a good final girl for these horror movies. And then Nosferatu in December. Dude, it's over for you. But you know what? I'm proud of you for as much horror as you've watched. And I had not seen anything but the trailer for The Substance, but that image of the stapled back is pretty brutal.
It's pretty bad, dude. And well, thank you for being proud. One, two, I do have to admit something. I've seen like a quarter, maybe half of Beetlejuice. And I feel like that's a crime. I know I'm doxing myself. Is that appropriate? I New Mexico Drew and Brenna are not very happy with me. So I need to rewatch that before September 6th. I feel like, right, you have to watch it. It's a sequel. Like, I feel like they're going to be.
You absolutely have to watch it. And I can't say much, though. I hadn't seen it till Kelly showed it to me. Like, there's a lot of great classic movies that I had not seen until I started dating Kelly or till we got married. Like, oh, yeah, obviously you've seen The Outsiders, right? Or obviously you've seen Lost Boys, right? Beetlejuice was one of those. And I was like, I haven't. And it was like a crime, and it was like immediately put on. It's amazing. But Beetlejuice is just incredible, though.
Yeah, and I feel like, and I think we mentioned this before, just this feeling. I might be biased because I haven't seen a lot of things, so I might be just trying to defend myself here. That this whole shaming for not seeing classics or big movies, I feel like it's fun in games, but it's not. We shouldn't be. It's okay.
It's not okay.
There's so many movies.
Hold on a sec. You have in 2024
oh no,
watched 103 movies.
Stop.
One of those could be Beetlejuice. Okay, everybody hold on. Josh and Kelly have had this discourse in a group chat that, like, Eric doesn't have good taste in movies. What movies has he recommended? And, like, I could just go on and on about, like, I've tried to tell them to watch this movie, that movie. Let me show you guys something.
I don't remember this. This group chat.
Josh's Letterboxd has a couple different lists. 2024 released watches ranked, 2024 watches ranked, living a stream. I have been recommending A Ghost Story to Josh.
Oh my gosh.
Since it came out in 2017, 7 years. Oh no, maybe. Oh, look where it's at on his rankings. Number 3. This son of a bitch. I don't care if you haven't updated this. At one point in time, out of all,
I haven't updated it yet.
Out of all 32 watches, A Ghost Story at one point was number 3. Like, Josh has a running list of movies, supposedly, I don't think it's real, that I've recommended that he just hasn't watched, and shows. And look what happens when you watch them. Look what happens when you dive in to what I recommend. Look at that.
Okay, one, it is a very great movie. We've talked about it. It's wonderful. I haven't updated the 2024 watches that are everything but the 2024 released movies. That being said, Eric is right. At some point, this was number 3. It is a very good movie.
You have The Godfather ranked at 38?
Oh, no, that's no. I just haven't, like I said, I haven't updated. So I added, before people come out, The Kissing Booth is above The Godfather.
Godzilla -1 is above The Godfather.
Dude, Godzilla -1 is great. Don't put that in the same realm of, have you seen it?
No.
Arguably a full watch. You check it out. I know. Dude, I'm telling you, it's unsuspecting. It is unsuspecting. Just, it'll touch your soul, man. It is a good movie because it's not.
Oh my God, it got 98 on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's not a monster movie. It's not like Monster Mayhem. It's not a part of the Godzilla world of like Godzilla, Kong, and Monster. I forgot what they call it, the Monsterverse. I think it's not a part of that universe. It's not canon in there. It's its own separate thing, and that's why they were having so many distribution and streaming issues because they couldn't put it online for some reason. Something about like the rights and about the Godzilla Kong movie coming out. And I could be butchering all of this, but if anyone knows more than me, write in. Also let Eric know that this movie is actually, incredible. I know I use that word way too much, but this one actually is.
Sarah, help us out.
Help us, word wizard. Okay. Anyways, I added Twister, Devil Wears Prada, and The Godfather and Molly's Game to this list but forgot to move them in the ranking. So whenever you add movies to lists on Letterboxd, it just throws them at the bottom.
Okay, I was gonna say because Molly's Game was great, and I know you loved Molly's Game.
Molly's Game.
You gave it a 4. Yeah, I'm like, okay, hold on, something's wrong. Okay, that makes sense.
But circling back here, I do want to shout out the people that do, give a little fun, give me a little shit, hold me accountable. Shout out Prudencio the Barber, PJ, and New Mexico Drew, and Eric, and all the other folks out there that hold me accountable to watch The Devil Wears or not The Devil Wears Prada. I mean, that is a classic. Everyone should watch that movie. But The Godfather and what's the I shout out Movie Mavens. They just did an episode where they talked about all the watches they did, but they talked about Clueless. I've not seen Clueless, and apparently that's like another one of those like classic must-watch movies. But I'm trying to think of the other movie that I just hadn't seen. That was they called me out on Instagram in the comments. I don't know if you remember that one.
Clueless is one of those that Kelly showed me. I was like, what are we talking about here? We watched that at like probably a month or two into dating. It was like a requirement. She loved Clueless. 90s? 95, right? Let's see. Hold on.
Clueless, 95.
1995.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What was the one that you got bullied for?
Little Women and Godfather.
That's right.
And
it was
maybe
Little Women.
Jaws.
Oh, we both.
I've never seen Jaws.
Dude, there's a point where it's like, okay, The Godfather, Jaws, like let's get a. I'm gonna be honest, you don't even have to like them. I understand that, like, The Shining is not rewatchable for most people.
Or 2001: Space Odyssey.
Honestly, not a rewatchable movie, and people can shoot me for it. There's a lot of these classics are not super rewatchable in the sense of like we talked about recently, Alien. To me, Aliens, number 2, is much more rewatchable of a movie. Alien's great, not as rewatchable. So I think but it's like you gotta have at least seen Jaws at your grandma's house, dude. I don't care if you want to watch it again and throw it on streaming for movie night with the roomies, but like
my grandma was landlocked, dude. I don't even know if she knows what the ocean is. They live in New Mexico. Why would they be like putting on Jaws? Although we did watch Waterworld a lot when we were kids, so the ocean argument does not work too well. Waterworld's great. Have you seen Waterworld?
I have not. I'm looking up what it is right now.
It's bad movie, good time type of category where critics ruined it and it did not do well in box office. But it's Kevin Costner. Who's the other? But it has that rest in peace, the iconic dude who has an eye patch. Dennis Hopper. That's who it is. Dennis Hopper's the villain in it, dude. But anyways, the ice caps melt. The world is covered in water. There is no land. And supposedly this little girl has a tattoo of the map to dry land on her back. And that's like kind of the whole premise and story and trying to escape. But dude, it's a blast, dude. Kevin Costner's just living on this really cool ship and he does all these like tools and gadgets and goes fishing for whales and shit. And I don't know.
That's incredible.
Yeah, check it out.
Damn, we said incredible twice in 10 minutes. Hold on. I'm looking at incredible synonyms. But they just don't roll off the tongue because when you're writing something, it might work, but
right.
Unbelievable. If I were to respond to you just now and say, that was unbelievable, that doesn't flow.
Right. I'm trying to think spectacular, marvelous, awesome, fantastic. Maybe I just need to back pocket some of these.
Right. We can just get them on your arm so that when you're recording, you're just looking at that was.
Ooh, yeah. And get a little tally mark. But
wait, I have a question. We talked about it with Drew and I did this podcast. Shout out New Mexico Drew. Tune into that podcast. We talked about most anticipated movies for the next few months as we close out 2024. What's your, pick one. What's yours that you're looking most forward to? Because Drew and I had a great conversation about, and we even missed, I think when I was doing my list, I missed Gladiator 2. And maybe it was Drew or I. So we had a great conversation about what's coming up. Speaking of New Mexico Drew, shameless plug. I know we'll close out the episode with a reminder, but if you've gotten this far, the next episode is going to be a full watch for New Mexico Drew.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be discussing what his full watch is. So sneak peek there. We'll be recording here soon so we can get that episode out with New Mexico Drew, getting back on the pod. But what is your most anticipated movie being released as we close out the year?
Oh, absolutely. Dude, Gladiator 2, mentioning Gladiator 2, I'm very stoked, especially once I found out, because I was like, I'm going to watch it regardless. Paul Mescal and Pedro Pascal and Joseph Quinn all phenomenal actors, and Denzel Washington clearly, right? But I was so worried that Denzel was going to be, which honestly, his villains are pretty sick. Like he's got
Yeah.
some solid villains, dude. So if it was gonna be some Training Day shit, then I would be like, okay, never mind. This is great. But I kind of wanted him to be a good person in this one, or on the rebellious side. And so once that was confirmed in the trailer, dude, I was 1,000% in. I was like 900% in. Now 1,000. So Gladiator 2 has to be up there. Dude, Nosferatu. I know it is a very classic, and it's a giant risk. I feel like it's a audacious, if you will, project to take on from Robert Eggers, and he does some cool stuff. But I don't know if I can. I'm gonna watch it, and I think it'll be fun in some way or something. But uh, as far as me though, I don't think I'm that's that anticipated. I'm dude. I think Timothée Chalamet is one of the best actors. He's doing great shit right now, and I think so. Even though James Mangold, I'm not sure I really like his look of his movies, or Logan was fun. I think Logan was great, and he did do that, but Walk the Line and some of his other biopics, I wasn't as, like, stoked about him, and he's directing the Bob Dylan one, A Complete Unknown,
Hmm.
but I feel like it's up there just because this run that Timothy's doing is bonkers, dude. From like, if you look at the past 5 years alone, and that's
Unbelievable.
not even including, like, dude, since 2016 or 2017 when he did Call Me by Your Name, getting nominated, and he was like, what, 22, 23?
He did Lady Bird that same year, Little Women the 2 years after. That's
The
crazy.
people he's working with, Luca, Greta, now with James Mangold, he's worked with Denny Villeneuve, and he, anyways, Paul King with Wonka, and even just the range that he's doing from musicals to dramas to action, and being able to be a leading person in all of those. So I'm pretty stoked about Bob Dylan. Although another thing might be bad. I don't know. I haven't really listened to Bob Dylan or much of his stuff, but that is up there. And then of course the We Live in Time. I don't know if people are as stoked about that, but that's the Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh, and they fall in love, and then it's clearly gonna just be the most
That's gonna just
ever.
dude. I've never really listened to Bob Dylan until there was a clip of Timothy singing, because I think he's actually performing in this movie.
I think so too.
And so I went to listen to some, and I was working from home that day, and I just had Bob Dylan playing for like a couple of hours.
Okay.
And it's good stuff. It's interesting. I forgot that was coming out Christmas Day, same day as Nosferatu,
Mhm.
because that'll be great. But that leads me to, I know we're getting near the end here, but like I know, so I don't mean to go down a rabbit hole. But someone was having discourse the other day below the Gladiator 2 trailer about Denzel, and they were like, "Who's the best actor in the last 20 years?" And I know everybody's like Daniel Day-Lewis, with the amount of Oscars he has and just the performances. I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts there? Like, and again, thinking of like who's next, how we have like Glenn Powell as the next Tom Cruise. Not that Tom Cruise has gone anywhere, but like Timothée Chalamet is he the next Leo? Like, I don't like. It's just these thoughts, and I love that discourse on like who's the greatest, because I don't think one is better than the other. But like, speaking of range that Timothy has, I don't know. I was just going through that rabbit hole discourse on Twitter, and I think the 2000s up until now have been ruled by Leonardo DiCaprio, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's Denzel, maybe it's somebody else,
Right.
but like that's a fun thing, because looking at people's range, and how you mentioned Timothy has that range. I don't, because like he's got it, man. You got Little Women, but then he does Dune, where he's like this commanding presence in this action adventure sci-fi.
Right.
And I think that's why I like Leonardo DiCaprio, because he's just, Catch Me If You Can is hilarious. That was one of my takes for favorite airplane movie. But then you have like Shutter Island, psychological thriller, Killers of the Flower Moon. You have The Revenant. He's hilarious in Wolf of Wall Street. He's fantastically psycho in Django Unchained. And so when you talk about Timothy, the range he's put out in just a few years is amazing. Like,
Mhm.
where will he go next? I don't know. Do you ever go down those rabbit holes of discourse of like, speaking of just actors or even actresses, like,
Yeah. No, absolutely, dude. I think the first thing that came to my mind was, I think there was a moment where I thought Eddie Raymond was going to be a part of that, and he's the dude who played Stephen Hawking, and he got, I believe, the Best Actor award for that.
yep,
And he then did the Danish Girl, I think.
the Danish
And
Girl.
then
Yep.
so he started, and then he was Newt Scamander in the not Harry Potter, but the Magical Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Fantastic Beasts.
Same world, right?
Yeah.
And so, but then he kind of disappeared. And then once Timothée Chalamet came on, Betting Man, I'd put it on Timothée, dude. I think him and Saoirse. I think as far as working the working actors right now, who I'm seeing deliver top notch performances nonstop, dude. I think it's pretty set that Timothée Chalamet is just. I don't know. I don't think he's 28 right now. I think 28, 29.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to stop, dude. I think he's going to keep. I mean, especially if he keeps pushing his talent, pushing his range. I don't know. I think this is he might be in that world of that. Glenn Powell, yeah, I think come on, but I don't know if he's as dynamic.
That's the thing is like, I was even thinking of Matthew McConaughey, but Matthew McConaughey had an insane run with like True Detective, Dallas Buyers Club. I'm looking at Interstellar, but that was a couple years after he did these rom-coms. So he has a little more range there. And like, I'm not saying that Tom Cruise doesn't have range because he has just such a great history of movies, but box office draw for like a big name Glenn Powell could be there, but he doesn't have the range. I agree with it. Or at least he hasn't shown it yet. I don't think I've seen that yet because he doesn't have too many big credits. I think Top Gun really sent him into the stratosphere. This also reminds me of how interesting the film industry is with someone like John Hamm.
Okay, yeah.
Who like had all the chops, and Mad Men was just incredible. Another thing you haven't seen, which I think you'd really like, but never really got into that leading man role. And he's fantastic in Mad Men. He's fantastic in the roles he's in. And obviously it's not like his career is going anywhere or over by any means, but like just couldn't quite get there into that leading man role comfortably. So I don't know, maybe Glenn Powell goes that. I don't know. It's fun to think about though, because of the last 2 years of movies, the next few years of movies are just so exciting to think about, and it's been so fun. And so I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a fun discourse to have.
I feel you, John Hamm and John Bernthal. Like I feel like they deserve more role, like leading roles and more big. And maybe, and I don't. Obviously, we don't know what's going on in the conversation going on off screen. Maybe they're being particular. Maybe they're not wanting to do certain things. But I think those two, they shine in a way that I would like to see them more in some more front and center big movies. But dude, the reason I say Saoirse too is that she started pretty young and she has carried it through. And I feel like that is a difficulty in and of itself. Like you get a lot of the younger child actors or teen actors, and to make that transition, like even I mean, Daniel Radcliffe's doing okay for himself, but he's not doing the same as like Emma Watson, I would say.
Oh yeah.
But Saoirse Ronan has, I think, from her first nomination when she was super young, and then where she's at now, she's coming out with a new indie movie. I think it's called like Outrun or something. Saoirse.
The Outrun.
And that movie's coming out, and I'm excited about it, literally because I think when she's on screen, especially after recency bias, just watching Little Women, she is that role. She is believable. She's all in. She's fun to watch. She's captivating to watch. And so I would say those are my two picks, Saoirse and Timothée Chalamet. But what about you?
I'm curious too, thinking about after rewatching Furiosa, like Anya Joy-Taylor, then you have like Zendaya or Florence Pugh, and it's so hard because like they were all just in big blockbusters, Furiosa and Dune. So it feels cheap to say that, but maybe not. I don't know. Like I know you had have you seen Midsommar, or you recently watched it? You had never seen it.
Midsommar.
I think a couple years ago, after seeing Midsommar, I thought, I'm like, all right, Florence Pugh is coming up, but I mean, again, I hadn't seen Little Women until recently. And so like I think that was the same year. Yeah, both came out in 2019. So she had that run, and then she'll have a bigger role in Dune the next Dune Messiah.
She was in Oppenheimer?
Yeah. It feels cheap because of all these blockbusters, right? Like Zendaya and Florence Pugh and Anya Joy-Taylor being in these blockbusters. So they're all at this level. And Zendaya is obviously an enormous name.
Right.
But like to see what's going to happen from here with like same thing with Timothée Chalamet. He's already shown his range. They've shown range. Who's going to elevate it to that level of like, because again, I brought up Daniel Day-Lewis because he has the awards,
right?
But he hasn't, like now it's Timothée Chalamet's turn. So which one of them is going to take the awards and the big box office draw? Because I think like Glenn Powell will have box office draw, but is he going to have the range in the award? So who's going to have both? I don't know, we're at a fun time in movies where there are enough people
Right.
that could potentially do that, right? You have the blockbusters, but yeah.
What are your thoughts on Austin Butler? I didn't mention him, but I feel like he's been in that conversation as well.
I think he's great, but I don't know about, again, it's that having both. I don't know about the box office draw because I liked Bike Riders. I thought it was fun, but it completely bombed at the box office.
Right.
But I'm looking now.
I think
We'll see.
well, he's interesting because I think he wowed the people with Dune Part 2, with his
Oh, God, so good.
like people were out there saying wild stuff, not completely unfounded, but they were saying they was on the level of like Heath Ledger and playing the
Yeah.
Joker. And so which to me, I think that's still gonna be. I'm like, come on, seriously, no. But
Yeah, no.
but I can see where people are saying in the sense of like that's the level of people like to even draw that conversation out is a kind of a feat, right? And so I agree that like I don't know, he was the leading man in Bike Riders, but that's like that the cool thing about that is that that's an indie film that was produced by
Jeff Nichols.
and he does a lot more independent stuff, not as big things, but he's a great storyteller. And then he does do a supporting role in Dune. Austin, we're talking about Austin Butler now, but I liked him in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's working with from Jeff Nichols, Denis Villeneuve, and Quentin Tarantino. Like he's working with the names that you would like to see in terms of getting those draw from the both box office but also awards type people. So we'll see where it's going. But yeah, I want to see where Joseph Quinn goes. He completely blew me away in A Quiet Place Day One, and I didn't watch Stranger Things, which I've watched only one season, which I know is another sin. But I heard all the raving about his character. Was it Eddie?
Yeah, he's completely steals the show. And again, what projects Austin Butler picks next, and then Joseph Quinn in Gladiator 2.
Yeah,
because it seemingly got this like psychotic role, and that's how Austin Butler in Dune like has gone off, and so Joseph Quinn can do that exact same thing. But it's so curious to see what Austin Butler does next, because you're right. I think what's cool about that is he goes from big blockbuster. He's got Elvis, but then he goes to Dune, and then he does, like you said, the Bike Rider's a smaller film, which is what Timothée can do.
right.
Timothée can do the smaller indie films, and he can be the leading man in a box office smash hit and a blockbuster. So Austin Butler's done that same thing, because you're right with Bike Riders. Interesting.
And the thing about Timothée too, I think that's worth mentioning is that I don't think he's overbearing. And so like I don't know if you've seen Bones and All, but you have Timothée Chalamet starring right next to Taylor Russell, who I think and feels like a less of a big name, but she shines, and maybe even more so than Timothée Chalamet. And for him to be able to like share that space and do it in such a non like that space, it feels like overbearing. Not that Leonardo, I don't know what's directing, I don't know what's going on, but like I feel like Leonardo's such a powerful name that when he's in a movie, he is the show, right? I think maybe Wall Street, you could argue that like Margot Robbie pushes back and can keep up just as much. And I think I saw that too in Flowers of the Killer Moon.
Lily Gladstone?
You see that too with Lily Gladstone, where Lily Gladstone, I think, cut through Leonardo's performance. But I think Timothée Chalamet does a good job of that. But I think you're right, though. I'm curious about Florence Pugh. She's definitely on my radar as well of what's happening. Because, I mean, again, she's very young too, right? I think she's 29.
Yeah, I think they're all relatively the same age.
She's 28, yeah. So...
Wow, that's wild. Midsummer, she was like early 20s, 22, 23. With Little Women, same thing.
Yeah, and she was in Black Widow. Don't Worry, Darling. I thought she was great. So, anyways, I'm very curious about. Yeah, I think we're in a good time for movies. There's a lot of fun actors out there doing just fun stuff and very interesting stuff. So
it's fun to talk about. All right, shameless plug as we wrap up. What we got coming up, we have a new Living the Stream episode next, like I mentioned earlier, with New Mexico Drew. We're talking Drew's Full Watch, so tune into that one. It's going to be fun. His second appearance on the pod. We had to place him on leave for a few weeks because of some of the things he said. But no, I'm just kidding. We're very excited to get him back on the pod. And you'll see different people, too, on the podcast coming up, because after that, we have what is after that? It's a Medium Project episode, isn't it?
Yep, a Medium Project, which again, if you're unfamiliar with that, it's a segment where we look at adaptations. We look at different source materials such as books, novels, short stories, novellas, poems that were adapted into motion pictures or TV shows, such as, Station 11, which would be a fun one is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because it was a movie then adapted into a book, which is fascinating. But just a Dune, things like that. So we're gonna do a Medium Project segment on It Ends With Us, the most recent movie. Justin Baldoni is directed. He starred in it. Blake Lively, based on a book by Colleen Hoover. So if you want to read that, it's a quick read, and the movie's in theaters right now. So if you want to join us for that conversation, read the book, watch the movie,
and then that's it. Support the show. Send us money, Patreon, subscribe, share with a friend. We love it. Sharing is a lot of fun because it starts discourse with you and your friends. You guys can fight over stuff that we fight about, agree on stuff that we fight about, or fight us about what we've said. So share the podcast, subscribe, send us money. Thanks so much.
Later.